Crickets are already singing. Frogs are already chirping. It's a little bit later than I wanted it to be out here, but that's okay. Better late than never. I want y'all's opinion on something. I got these little solar lights at Dollar Tree, I think it was. Little solar lights. I got 4 of them in my flower bed. But I wanted y'all to tell me what you thought of it. I haven't seen them in action yet. I'm obviously going to wait and see what they look like when they are lighting up the garden. But it's just a little bit of light for the flowers. That's all it's meant to be. Just a little bit of light on my flowers. So, I don't know. Cheap, yes. But sometimes cheap works. I just want something cute in my garden. Another little family matter that I have to take care of out here is I'm collecting some of these pots off the ground from what we have out here. These are the pots that were meant to go back to the nursery, and they still will, but I'm just borrowing a few of them because that is what I need right now, because the project I'm doing is I'm uppotting some rosemary. Hold on, Miles. The little rosemary starts that Jason and Brooke started for us when they were here. They have gotten really big, as you saw on Wes's video on our main channel, Big Family Small Farm. They have gotten really big, and their roots are starting to like go through the bottom, and they're going to get root bound and not do well if I don't up pot them really fast. So I want this rosemary to be successful, so I'm going to up pot today. Sometimes you just got to pause for a minute and take time for you, so this is what I'm doing. I'm being good to myself, following my own advice here, and I'm taking time for me, which means reflecting with you guys and, talking to you, even though I don't get any feedback right now. I don't get any extra input at the moment, but I feel like it's kind of like it's part of my therapy. It's part of my mental well-being is talking to you guys and sharing my thoughts and feelings on things. So on that note, I just wanted to share something with y'all that I was thinking about today, because I think about so many things so often, and I try to just, a lot of times I bounce ideas off Wes, or I bounce ideas off my kids, and that's great, but there's sometimes when getting inside my own head and reflecting on my own thoughts, there's value in that, and sometimes that's more along the lines of what's needed right now. I think is just for me to talk through something and for you guys to just hear it, just to record it, just to have those thoughts, and then you guys can always comment later and tell me what you think on it. That's the great beauty of having a channel, is that you guys get to comment and I get to see them and then reflect on my response and conversate that way. But there's this one thing in particular, and I'm potting up down here, guys. That's what I'm doing. I know you're seeing me right now, but I'm just potting things up. And I've got these beautiful rosemary plants. These are the ones that y'all saw in the video that I can see the little roots peeking through the bottom, and they need to go in bigger plants. But the big family matter that I wanted to discuss with you today was invitations. Invitations in 2 different aspects of your life, or of my life. So people that we invite into our home and into our lives and into our space, and into our family is huge. That's important to me. It's like you're you feel special, and you feel welcome, and you feel accepted if you have been invited into someone's home and someone's space. So Wes and I do that pretty freely and pretty liberally. We invite a lot of people over. There's I can't think of a single person we wouldn't invite to our home, because our home is a place of, let me grab that chair for a second. But yeah, we freely invite people into our home, and kind of have that general love and invitation for everybody. There's, I don't know, maybe like one or 2 people that I would not care to invite to my home for very specific reasons. It's got to be a good reason. It's got to be, you have to be offensive and detrimental to my family, and you would have to be someone who's not going to bring any joy or anything good to me or my home or my family for me to say, look, I can't invite you over. I'm sorry. I'll love you from afar, but you can't be invited to my home. So there's, you know, I think we all pretty much generally feel that way about our home and our personal space. It's even more important and sacred to me that way in my garden space. It's I know it's gonna sound weird, but my garden has always been, even when it was just like it was a couple of raised beds or it was some plants I threw out in the yard and I was tending to, my space and my place of zen and calm and comfort, my place that I go to grow things and tend to things. It's not that it's more important than my home or my family. It's not that. It's that I hold it on a level of sacred invitation a little higher than even someone I would invite to my house. It's like, if I invite you to my garden, that's like, you are my friend. You know, you are my family. You are someone I hold in high esteem if I have invited you to my garden, you know, like, and to me, and this is just my humble opinion, y'all, but in my opinion, that is something that should be the case for everybody. The garden is, your garden is a space that you have put all this time and sweat and work, blood, sweat, and tears into. This is a place that, you know, you go to feel happy, to soothe your soul, you know. That's your garden, you know, because lots of things can be invited into your home, or can be invited into a public building or into your car. Lots of things can happen in there. Lots of bad situations, or lots of sad situations. Lots of frustrations and fighting and contention, and things happen among those spaces. But in the garden, that is where I have religiously strived for a long time now to keep the garden kind of sacred. It's a space where I leave all those things at the gate, you know. You leave it there, you drop it there, and it does not enter in to the garden. So I do not invite things like contention, anxiety, stress, argument. Anybody that is going to bring negative vibes or bring unhappy things to me is not welcome in my garden, because those things are not welcome there. And I just wanted to speak to that a little bit about cultivating for yourself. Hey, kitty. Cultivating for yourself a place like that. You decide what is going to live there in that space, whether it be your home, your car, your work, your whatever. You decide what is going to live there, and what's going to be allowed to thrive there, and what's going to be welcome there, and what's going to be invited there. So I can choose to make it a place where I cultivate sadness, I cultivate anxiety. I can make it a place where contention thrives here. You know, I could turn it into that, but I have chosen to work hard at not doing so. I've chosen to work hard to cultivate a place where only joy thrives here, only peace loves to live here, you know, a place where happiness resides here, and negative thoughts are just not going to be happy there, so to speak. Like, they're not going to be welcome, and they're not going to be invited. I'm not going to invite anything that's going to mess with that vibe. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. I know I'm just kind of throwing some very broad concepts out there, but that is what it is to me. And I completely understand anybody who is very specific about who and what they invite into their garden. I completely understand that. To me, the garden is sacred. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk to y'all about that, and I wanted you to really like think about that concept, you know, as a whole. Like, what do you invite into your homes? What are you inviting into your space? A lot of times we don't even think about it. We just kind of go about life and we don't even think about these things. But I think this is something you need to be intentional about. That's, in my belief, that's something that it requires thought and energy. It requires a little bit of effort to say, you know, I am going to encounter rough things in this life, and I am going to encounter negativity. And there is a place for that. There's a time and a place and a space for anyone with contentious words, negative attitudes. There's a place where that can happen and where that's, you know, welcome or allowed to be or invited in. There's certain spaces of my life where I have to deal with that. And that's okay, because balance in all things, because we live in a world where we have both good and bad. But it's just, I really need that. I do. I need and I crave that place of solitude, that place of happiness where I know that it is safe here because nothing negative is allowed to enter in. And yes, that does mean with my family, that means that when my children are gardening with me, if they're having an off day, if they're having a rough time and they're fighting with each other, they start fussing or going through a fussy phase or having one of their meltdowns or something, I pause everything. I stop what I'm doing and I ask them to leave. They have to leave the garden. I'm sorry. That's not welcome here. I tell you, I love you, sweetie. I love you, honey. I love you more than life. And I will totally go spend time with you inside the house and we will talk about it and we'll deal with it. But that attitude you're having right now, that is not welcome here. We don't do that here. So I'm serious. I take it very seriously. So I choose what comes into my sacred space that I have worked hard for and that I have built and that I have created. And I think that's fair. I think that's perfectly normal and equal and fair and understandable and reasonable. I have no problem telling people that. I have no problem living by that. I think that is right and deserved, and I feel entitled to that. Yeah, I do. I've worked hard for it. Everybody needs their certain space that they hold sacred. So, and you know, spouses even have spats and stuff. And even when Wes and I are gardening and working together, we have not always had just 100% perfectly get along days. No, anybody who's been married longer than 5 minutes will tell you that. You're not going to have all these joyous, just perfectly happy get along days and never fuss and never fight with each other. That does not happen. That's a fairy tale. So when that happens, sorry, I have to go get another bag of soil, so I'm going to take you guys with me. Hopefully I have another bag. I'm not done potting up. Oh, yeah, I do. Good. Yay. So when those spats come and when those arguments happen, we both just kind of stop and we stop gardening and we leave the garden. We take a walk to figure it out together. We go inside to figure it out together, or we go to our separate spaces to cool off for a while before we can interact with each other again if we're just still angry. But it's not allowed to continue where we're at in the garden because the garden is not a place for that. That's not appropriate for the garden. So, yeah. I love inviting good things to this place. When I say good things, I mean anything that sparks joy. I love inviting creativity. I even love inviting creatures that are not, might make me frustrated later because they ate some things that I didn't want them to. But all other things like that are welcome. You know, ideas, laughter, fun, jokes, joy, creativity, hard work, and sweat, all welcome in the garden. All of that is good. It doesn't always have to be merry sunshine. It doesn't always have to be smiles and giggles. Sometimes it's just quiet. Sometimes it's just like, I've got my headphones in. I don't want to speak to anyone else in the garden. I want to kind of pretend like I'm alone, or maybe I will be alone in the garden. And I'll just listen to some calming music. And I just work. Maybe it's just a time for work, you know. Hard work is allowed in the garden. when I get to the point of frustration, like we all do, at myself or at the garden, I'm frustrated with something in the garden, or I'm devastated because of loss in the garden. If I start to have any of those feelings, if I start to have just, I'm over this sort of feeling, just really frustrated, I drop it. Like I dust off my hands, drop what I'm doing, leave the garden alone. I'll come back tomorrow. Because I don't want to stay there in that atmosphere and in that kind of attitude in my garden. Because that's not something I want to cultivate there. That's not something I want to get in the habit of having there. I don't want to have that kind of experience there. I don't want to get used to having, breeding that sort of energy and vibe in my garden. I want that stuff to stay out and stay at the gate. For those of you who do not have a garden at all, I think you can still relate, and I think you can tell what I'm talking about. But wait until you experience that feeling in a garden. Just whatever your peaceful, calm space is right now, whatever's doing that for you right now, wait until you experience that in a garden. That is 10 times better. It's so much better, I'm telling you. It's just something about it. Even if it's the type of garden where you didn't maybe put in all the work someone else did, you had someone else design it or build it, when you go into that space, whole nother level of happy, peaceful, joyful, quiet. There's like a reverence that takes hold of your soul. It's just, it's amazing. It's indescribable. And that's why people visit these famous gardens all over the world, by the way. And that's why people have lovely parks that are covered with so much greenery and so much aesthetically. Oh, this one has, wow, it did not pull out with a bunch of roots. Like, all that is just, that's just dirt that just fell out. It was just a stick, and I thought maybe, oh, it just didn't take hold or it didn't root. But look, y'all can see this. Hold on. Teeny tiny bitty itty bitty baby root right there. I don't know if it's focusing enough to show y'all that, but I think you can see it. Itty bitty little teeny tiny root on the end of the stick. So it is trying to root. I'm gonna stick it in the dirt and I'm gonna see what happens. Please don't die. Please keep growing. We're gonna try. Give it a good old college try. But yeah, that's why these places all over the world are designed that way, because every human soul knows that that is what pleases us. Everybody in existence is attracted to these things. It's just part of our nature. It's something built into our DNA that we're biologically attracted to this. Last two, guys. Last two. Make sure, guys, that you in your life, I encourage you to make sure that you don't feel obligated to just invite whoever and whatever just because you feel that you have to. You do not have to invite anyone or anything into your personal and private space. That is where you belong, and whoever you choose and whatever you choose to bring into that space with you. It's by invitation only. So please believe that, and please utilize that and put that into action. And don't let anybody ever tell you that that's wrong or unfair, because everyone is entitled to their own personal space, and everyone is entitled to that, to find that peace and that joy in the way that they need it, and to cultivate a place that they feel safe and happy. You know, a place that brings that sort of spirit into their life. This is beautiful. Let me show you guys. This is amazing. I got all 7 of them potted up. That to me is beautiful. That makes me happy. That is lovely. Oh, yes. I hope I have 7 rosemary plants. Well, actually 9, because there's 2 up there. Can y'all see that on the table? There's 2 more up there. And my wonderful husband Wes was lovely enough to pot up for me those 2 plants. So actually I might have 9 rosemary plants. That's more rosemary than I've ever had in my life. Never been good at planting rosemary for some reason. Rosemary has been a struggle for me. But this is the year. With the help of Cog Hill Farm, this is the year that I'm going to grow some rosemary, some big, beautiful rosemary bushes. This just fills my soul with joy. This makes me really, really happy, y'all. I love looking at these pots. I love looking at this, that I grew. I had help with this. This was made with love and joy and caring by someone who cared about me enough to help me with this. This is something that's invited into my garden. This is a good memory for me and a good landmark for a good mile marker for me to say that I did this. Yep, the hands and the work that went into this is all pure joy and happiness. This is something I welcome into my sacred space. Yes, makes a great addition. You want things that make great additions to your garden and not take anything away from it. Don't put anything in your garden that's going to hurt you or hurt you mentally and emotionally. Don't put anything negative in there that's going to take away from the garden. The garden is meant to be beautiful. The garden is meant to be helpful and uplifting. And always add things to your garden that are going to support that and cultivate that. Add things that are going to go along with that theme. That should be the thriving theme of your garden. So I hope that you found that helpful. I hope that anyone who needed to hear that really heard that and accepted it and took it in. Once again, I have dirty, happy hands and a happy soul and a happy mind. If I get nothing else accomplished today, I up-potted some rosemary, and that is good enough for me, and I'm okay with that. And that made my day, y'all. So I hope I've helped your day go a little bit better, and I hope it gave you some ideas to go out and create a space that is going to bring you joy. And if you already have one, I hope I helped you to be a little more careful about the invitations that you send out to that joyful place.